Welcome to this edition of our vlog. This time we have Martin Kocher here, and he's going to tell us about a paper he wrote in which he examines dishonest behavior in groups. Before we went to talk a bit more about this topic, I asked him to introduce himself.
My name is Martin Kocher. I am professor at the University of Vienna and director of the Institute for Advanced Studies in Vienna. And my research is in behavioral and experimental economics. I'm interested in decision-making of individuals and teams.
So, when you think about dishonest behavior in groups, you can imagine that there are several possibilities. On the one hand, people might exert some kind of social control over each other, and that leads to less lying. On the other hand, people within a group might cooperate, but this then hurts other people, so they might hurt outsiders by lying to them. So it's very important to understand the setup and the ideas and situations which one wants to capture. So I asked Martin what inspired him for the study and how his study looked like.
There is both actually anecdotal evidence, but also evidence from some research papers that teams or small organizations tend to be more dishonest, more unethical than individuals. And actually we wanted to understand why this is the case. And one way to do is to go to the laboratory and to implement treatments of individual decision-making and team decision-making. We had a very easy task where people had to report a certain outcome, and they could report this outcome truthfully, or they could lie to us, and if they were lying, they were earning more money. And we can compare individual decision-making in such a task with team decision-making, and we have different treatments in terms of how the teams interact and in terms of how the profits are distributed in the teams.
So this account of the experiment Martin conducted sounds more like people cooperating in a team than potentially harming other people outside the team. This would suggest that teamwork basically increases lying. So I asked Martin what he actually found.
So the main finding is that groups or teams tend to be more dishonest than individuals, and that's regardless of how they come up with their decision in the end, or whether they have to come up with a joint decision. That was surprising to us, that this doesn't matter too much actually. We were very surprised by the extent of the effect. It's a very strong effect. And we looked into the reasons for the effect. So we analyzed the chat, and we analyzed how their beliefs, the group members' beliefs changed on whether people are honest or not. It seems to be the case that these beliefs changed over time, over this group interaction. So that group members thought that others are less honest once they interacted in this group chat. And they exchanged also more arguments for being dishonest than for being honest. And they supported each other in the perception that people are more dishonest than they thought beforehand. And all that together led to this result that groups are more dishonest than individuals.
So this dishonesty shift, which Martin detected, is really that people cooperate via increased lying when they are in groups. However, put yourself into the situation of a participant in his experiment. And you were sitting in a cubicle and you were communicating and coordinating with your fellow team members via a keyboard and via a chat function of the computer interface. However, usually you're communicating with your team members more directly. You see each other, you stand there face to face, and then you have to persuade your fellow team members to be more dishonest to other people. To me, that feels harder. So I asked Martin what he thinks about this concern. See what he answered.
It's true that anonymous interaction is something that is not very realistic. Most of our interactions are non-anonymous. We use that in the lab because it's easier to control factors such as how people know each other perhaps before the experiment, or factors of gender composition of teams, and so on. So it's a tool for us rather than a design feature that we like a lot. One could, of course, run an experiment where there is non-anonymous interaction, so when people see each other, they discuss face-to-face. I'm not sure what we would see there. I guess the main result would hold, but you're right, it could actually be a weaker result in the sense that the social pressure is stronger in a face-to-face interaction to comply with the norm than in an anonymous chat interaction.
This sounds like a reasonable assessment to me. So if you think about the overall results of Martin's paper, you should also think about, well, what can we use it for? What is the real-life implication of this? I asked Martin this, and these are his answers.
I think the first implication is that there is a dark side of team interaction that has not been highlighted so much. The second thing is that we see it depends very much on the chat and how teams interact. So the next step we want to look at is there chances to counterbalance these effects in the sense that we can have team interactions, rules on team interactions that reduce this inclination to be more dishonest than individuals. And I'm sure in the real world there are such things, and we want to study those in the laboratory. But it's important to know that teams have positive effects, but also they might have some negative implications. So teams are not the panacea for all problems that companies have.
So I think these words by Martin are in fact a good conclusion for today's edition. If you liked it, we'd be happy if you subscribe and watch other editions of our vlog series. See you next time.